Welcome to the Conceive Believe Achieve Podcast, where we delve into the minds of elite athletes and coaches to uncover their secrets behind their success. I'm your host, Coach Geris, former university wrestling coach, D1 wrestler, national champion, Olympic trials medalist, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a three-time world team coach in grappling, and author. Join me as we explore the realms of training, mindset, goal setting, overcoming adversity, and various coaching methodologies in the world of sports. Get ready to be inspired and motivated as we learn from the best in the game on our journey to achieving greatness. Part one of this episode was brought to you by Let's Wrestle Apparel. Hey wrestlers, ready to show your passion for wrestling and style? Introducing Let's Wrestle Apparel, designed for champions like you. Whether you're on the mat or in the gym or out with friends, Let's Wrestle Apparel is made for comfort, durability, and making a statement. Their high-quality, breathable fabric keeps you cool and focused no matter how intense life gets. With bold designs and a perfect fit, Let's Wrestle Apparel is more than just clothing. They're a badge of honor for dedicated athletes. Available in a variety of sizes and colors, there is clothing in the Let's Wrestle Apparel collection for every wrestling warrior. Don't just wrestle, wrestle in style. Visit their website at www.letswrestle.ca to browse their collection and order yours today. Join the movement and let the world know you're ready to rumble with Let's Wrestle Apparel. Get yours now and wear your passion. Today we have a special guest all the way from St. Catharines, I believe. I didn't check that before, but I'm just assuming because you wrestle for the Brock Badgers. It is Mia Friesen. So I want to welcome you to the show. I know that we talked prior that you actually have seen some of the show with some of your teammates, Shauna and Hannah. So big shout out to them. For you folks that haven't seen those episodes, please go back and take a look at them. Hannah just made the Olympic team. So you're inside a wrestling room now at Brock University, getting beat up by Hannah. Are you?
Yes, I am.
What a great experience. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's honestly unreal. Like her and I were in the final together at the Olympic trials. She beat me 2 in a row, and I've been able to watch her get ready for the Olympic qualifiers and the Pan Ams. I've been able to watch her. Me and my teammates were actually around a little phone when she qualified, and it was unreal. And seeing her reaction and then seeing everything that's progressed since then, from I think that was in February, from February to now, it's been unreal. I want to be the Olympian. That's my goal. I want to be there in LA. And even just being a background character in Hannah's journey right now, I feel like I'm learning a lot and mentally prepping myself for the next 4 years, this cycle. And, I'm getting ready for that to be me. And I think that that's something very unique that not a lot of people get to experience. And I'm so grateful for it. So,
Tell me about that experience going into the Olympic trials, chasing after your dream, and having to face a teammate.
That's the first time that's ever happened to me. I've never wrestled a teammate in any tournament, so that was new. We didn't have any coaching in the corner, just our coaches there with water bottles and towels to towel us down in between rounds, and it was quiet in the corner, and that's normally not the Brock way. It's loud in the corner and you're getting coaching every second, and to not have that was new, and it was weird at first, but you have to adjust, and it didn't take me long to adjust. And I think Hannah's been in that situation before, so it's just how we work at Brock, and I think that that's really cool. And as much as it sucked to lose, it was hard because she is a teammate, and that's her lifelong dream is also my lifelong dream. And, that's how that works. And that's just the way that the cards fell, and she kicked the shit out of me. And
okay. Well, you earned the spot of, I guess, Olympic alternate. Is that the,
yeah.
You were an Olympic alternate, but you just won the under 23 national championships. What was it, a week ago?
Yep.
Okay. So you will be, your wrestling journey hasn't ended yet this year. You still get to train for, I'm guessing, the World Championships?
Yeah, so this year, the under 23, there's actually an under 23 Pan American Championships, and that's the first year that this has ever happened. So I'm leaving in a few weeks for that. It's at the end of June, We're going to Colombia. And then I'm going to Madrid for the Spanish Grand Prix in July. And that's just like an international tournament with a training camp at the end. So that's exciting. I'll be there for like 10 days. And then we're headed to Albania at the end of October for the U23 World Championships.
Mm-hmm. You are doing some traveling, more traveling than some people have done in their life, all through a sport. Did you even imagine that this sport would take you places?
No, honestly, like, I didn't even think I was going to be a wrestler. Like, my older brother wrestled when he's 3 years older than me, and he wrestled when he was in like 5th, 6th, 7th grade. So I was like, I want to do that, because anything my brother did, I wanted to do. Like, it was like, but I never started wrestling until the 10th grade. And then it was like my third sport out of 3. Like, it was just something to do. I tried volleyball in grade 9, and I was the worst volleyball player. I'm 5'3". Like, what? It wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I joined in grade 10, and it was something I did in the wintertime, and it was awesome. And I didn't really like fully commit to wrestling full time until my first year of university. That was the first time where it was the only thing I focused on.
Mm-hmm. And sorry, you said other sports. Was it just the volleyball and wrestling?
No, so I was a gymnast from like 3 to 13, and I was a lacrosse player from about 9 to 16 or 17. I actually played lacrosse for Brock in my first year. It's like a 2-month season, so it was September, October, and then, so that was fun. But I played lacrosse, and that was my sport. Like, that was my main sport. I was on like recruitment teams from the age of 11. I was playing in the States. I wanted to go D1. That was the goal. And then at like 16, it was kind of one of these things where it was no longer a passion of mine. It was a task. It was a job. It was not fun, not enjoyable. I hated every minute of it. So finally I just quit, really. But I was also a track athlete. I ran hurdles in high school. I was a heptathlete for 1 year outside of high school. I am a national bronze medalist in like under 19 for the heptathlon. I was on the Team Ontario lacrosse team, and we went and won nationals. And then I quit both of those, and I started wrestling.
Well, I want to go back to because mindset's a big part of sports, and I'm just wondering what you said that it just wasn't fun anymore with the lacrosse. What was contributing to do you think to that?
Well, like, I wanted to be a D1 athlete so bad, but one of the things that drives me in wrestling is that I want to be the best, and that drives me to be even more passionate in wrestling. It drove me in, like, when I was a lacrosse player, it was all the same thing. That's my mentality going into almost everything that I do. But for lacrosse, it ended up turning into this like stress, this weight on my shoulders, this like, I have to perform and I have to be the best ever out here all the time. And for lacrosse, that wasn't connecting, that mentality that I had, and it wasn't connecting positively through my body. And I feel like I just eventually figured out that it wasn't working for me. But in wrestling it is, and it was, even right from the beginning. And it was that was a telltale for me that lacrosse isn't for me, but this is, because I have the same mentality going into both sports, but it's progressing positively in wrestling, and I'm taking these leaps and bounds, and in lacrosse it's just, I feel like there's cement building on my shoulders and I'm falling apart here.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things sometimes that contribute to, a kid quitting, and it could be the weight of the sport. What about wrestling? You just jumped into that sport there, gave it a try. Was it just because the influence of your brother, or was it like, did you get recruited while you were there at Brock?
So I started in high school. I joined in grade 10, and it was right from like when I was little, and my brother did it, and I was like, I'm doing it. And it was really early on. Like, it was honestly a few months into wrestling in grade 10 where I went to a Brock Christmas camp, and Marty Calder he came up to my dad and he was like, I think you should start bringing Mia out to the Brock University practices. I think that would be great for her. And honestly, when I started, I was like, I'm not doing that. That's terrifying. But my dad, who I'm so thankful for now, he would pick me up and be like, no, like, we're going. You're going to this. And I'm in the back, and I'm in, like, the passenger seat of the car. Like, I don't even know how to take a high crotch. I don't know how to take a single leg. I am in a left foot stance, and my right hand is in front. I don't know what I'm doing right now. But he took me, and it didn't matter, and I went, and I got my ass beat every practice, but it was awesome. It was skin grew thick. I learned quick. And honestly, like, I feel like that year when I was how old are you in 10th grade? 16?
You're going to be somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I felt like I blossomed into a completely different human being just from being, I don't want to use the word forced because that's a bad word, I feel like, to use, but just being pushed into that environment. And it was kind of like, figure it out. And it ended up in a super positive way. And I continued it on, and I wrestled, like I said, it was really part-time for me. It was behind lacrosse, it was behind track, but it was actually COVID that kind of was, I knew I was going to take a 12B year, so a grade 13 year, because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to run track D1, play lacrosse D1, or go to Brock and wrestle. And finally, just like I said, it hit me finally where I was like, Brock is the place to be. And a lot of it came from that experience in lacrosse, but it was also, I was going to these big schools and they were parading me around their huge, giant schools and flashy stadiums. And I just kept thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, but is it Brock? And it was like, they're walking me around like Northwestern University and all these big schools. And I just kept thinking in the back of my head, it's not Brock, not wrestling. And I ultimately made that decision. I called Marty one night and I said, do you guys have space for me on the team? He said, yeah, we do. Yeah. So I spent COVID. We had like a Olympic training group we were on our own bubble, and all the people getting ready for the last chance Olympic qualifiers could bring in training partners and stuff. And I was lucky enough to be one of those people that got brought in, and it kind of expanded from there, but I was lucky enough to train through that time period in our own bubble. So that was really cool.
Awesome. Now, you did say something in the beginning there. You said I was getting the crap beat out of me. It was awesome. Most people, when they're getting the crap beat out of them, are going to say, you know what, I'm going to shut this down. It must take a very special person. And that's, I mean, I know what it's like to be in a wrestling room and enjoy that kind of pain, that kind of abuse. But tell me about what was about those beatings that kept you going?
I don't know, because really, in the moment, if you would have asked me right then, I don't think I would have said it was awesome. But it was this, like, I was so frustrated because I was losing, and I hate losing. And I've always hated losing. And I was losing, and it wasn't close, and I was tears in my eyes the whole time. And it just, like, lit this fire in me every time where I was like, I'm going to get you next time. And it's like people that I wasn't getting next time. Every time we were wrestling, they were going to beat the crap out of me at that time and that age. But it continuously, and it still does, it lights this fire in me that I just like, there's somebody out there that's better than me. Mm-hmm. I hate that. and like, I'm going to be upfront about that. I feel like that's every competitive person. I feel like that's every high level wrestler. Like, you have to have that fire in you. You have to have that need and want to just continuously get better and not have anybody be close to you and continue to learn. And that's what's so great about it, is that no matter how good you are, there's always something to be better at.
Mm-hmm. There's I forget the name of the book, but it was written by Greg Harden, and he's a sports psychologist down in the University of Michigan. But one of the people that he came in contact was a fellow by the name of Tom Brady. I'm not sure if you know that name. Watch football, maybe you do. Tom, he was getting frustrated with his mindset, with not starting on the Michigan football team. If you can believe that, he wasn't starting his first couple of years. So one of the things he did was he focused on, and he worked with Greg about the mindset. Greg said to him, listen, you're only getting 3 reps of practice. Well, make them the best reps that you ever could. And from there, it snowballed into, instead of 3 reps, it went to 4 to 5 to 6. When you're in the wrestling room, does mindset come into play? You just talked about, I want to be better than everybody else. Are you in practice focusing on various people that you want to take a part out of?
I mean, yeah, there's always, there's intention behind everything that you do in wrestling. I feel like Marty focuses so much on everything has to have an intent. There can't be just the sport's too hard and you're too much, you're taxing your body too much to just be willy-nilly out there. I feel like everything that I'm doing, I have somebody in the back of my head. I have a situation in the back of my head where I was like, I burned myself on this. So we're going in and we're fixing it because I refuse to burn myself on it again. And if you watch my matches, you can pick out where I get burned myself so many times. And it's just, you have to go into practice with something in your head, whether it's a person, whether it's a situation, whether it's an entire match, an entire tournament, or even something that happened yesterday at practice. There's just, that's kind of what I've really been working on, is that not going into practice with just okay, let's just go to practice. Let's just run through all my moves and let's just scrap it out in live. Because I feel like I did that for a long time. And it's just been of recently where it's okay, we're going into practice, we're doing this, we're focusing on this situation. And even though we're going live today, you're going to focus on these things in live, not just winning the live go. Because I feel like, as he said before, I like to win and I like to be the best. And that can be so, you can fall into that rabbit hole so easy at practice. You're just I just want to win this go. When really, you're not working on anything. You're not testing the waters with moves. You're not testing the waters with scrambles and situations. And that's kind of something that I feel like I've been lacking at practice in the past years. And I just really want to focus in on that. Because sometimes I get into tournaments and I forget my moves and I'm stressed and I just want to win. And I feel like a part of that is because of practice. I used to just want to win the live go instead of, we're working on my new setup to my new move and this, and we're doing it because you can do it 1,000 times. But if it's 1,000 times wrong, it might as well have been 0 times.
Mm-hmm. Now that mindset that you had, the prior mindset, that's a mindset that when I was coaching over at York, that was a mindset that I think a lot of the wrestlers had. Just go through the motions, I think that's part of a coaching philosophy too. I mean, I wasn't the head coach over there, but you need to kind of really get that out of your athletes. You had to push them to a point where they're uncomfortable. And I'm assuming, because I've been around the sport long enough, I know your coach, Marty. He's been successful for a while because he does push.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you respond to the pushing in the beginning?
I loved it. I loved it right from the beginning. He might not have thought I loved it but I loved it. And he is he's such a great coach. He just knows everything about everything. And it doesn't matter what question you have, he's got the answer for it. And he can see the potential in you before you can even see it. And I feel like that's something that I figured out. And, you just throw your belief at him and you just, okay, if you said that we're doing 10 3-minute goes. We're doing 10 3-minute goes. And we're doing overload afterwards because I believe in you, because you believe in me, and I believe in this whole process. And that's the kind of, I'm not even really sure, like, it's just the entire vibe of the room. And he pushes, and you can either push back and fight it, or you can just believe in him. And why wouldn't you believe in him and his system that he has? He's proved it over and over and over again with all different athletes, like all different people of all different backgrounds, like people that have been wrestling since they've been 3, people that have been wrestling since they've been 15, people that have just, we have so many people on our team that just like, they walked in 20 years old and was like, I'm going to try wrestling. I'm going to try this. And everyone said, okay, because we don't make cuts in the Brock room. It's just, you cut yourself, basically. If you can't handle it, you don't come back. But, you know, we've got lots of people on our team that are trying to crack varsity lineups that started a year ago in university. And it's because Marty pushes, and it's because Marty understands that you're new, but also expects you to listen and expects you to improve with the rest of us. And people do, and it's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's been around for a while. He knows his craft, and of course, proof is in the pudding, right? I can't even tell you off by heart how many national championships I've seen them collect over the years, including with Richard Deschâtelet as well. A great tradition there. Richard was actually a teammate of my dad's at the '76 Olympic Games, and what a great man as well. I don't know if you ever got the chance to actually meet him. I know his son wrestles for the team as well. So maybe Richard was around.
Yeah, I love Richard Sr. Richard Jr. is a great guy too. Like when Rich Jr. was training with us, like Richard Sr. would come and he would help out when he could, and it was awesome. They're great people.
That's great. Love to hear that that he was around. It was the same thing with my dad. My dad pushed me into the sport, and you talked about being forced in the sport. Mine was there because it was his passion, and he just pushed it on all 3 of us. But at this point, I enjoy it. You know, I think at the beginning, I think like I didn't enjoy it. Yeah. So we talked about mental conditioning. We talked about, a little bit of the structure in your regime, because there was a little bit of, you went from high school and then you went to Brock Wrestling Room. Can you maybe talk about the differences in what the transition, or how difficult was it for you to transition into university wrestling?
I had the people in my year had definitely a unique transition into it because we were right in the peak of COVID.
Mm.
So I had one of my university coaches now is actually my club coach when I was in high school. So the junior Badgers practices tried to structure kind of what the Badgers were doing in obviously a less intense high school way. But it was like night and day going from the junior Badgers practices, because I remember I would go every Tuesday to the Brock University team, and I would practice with my high school afterwards, and then my dad would take me to the university practices, and that was like night and day. But as I got through high school, I more regularly went to Brock to train. So by the time that I was in the end of 11th grade, and then all of 12th grade, I was training a lot of my time at the Brock team, with the Brock team. So I was kind of used to their wrestling schedule at least. And then COVID hit. And then I got to train underground, basically, with the senior members of the team. And slowly more and more people got invited and let in to the bubble. And then COVID hit, and the men's and women's teams were separated, and we had to wear masks at practice. It was crazy. It was insane. And it was all about safety. And one time I was wearing a mask, and because I couldn't take it off because safety, but I had my partner, Michaela, who's one of my best friends, her blood was all over my mask. Mm-hmm. How is this safer than just no mask? But
Well, I can tell you when I was coaching, and this is just after COVID was kind of slowing down, wrestling opened back up. There was one of my wrestlers that wanted to wear a mask while he was wrestling. He was wrestling with it, and these are young kids, right? And
Yeah.
more influenced by their parents. But the head official came over to me and chastised me for letting them wear the mask. Because it was a safety issue. How backwards was that? I mean, you went from, oh, well, wait a second, we're afraid of this, and then the head official, and I guess he's just enforcing the rules. But I mean, there was such a fluxation on, I'm going to say stupidity. I'll say it because we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what we needed to do, and it just continued. And I think I guess we got a little bit smarter, a little bit. But it did affect people's wrestling careers. There's a lot of kids that, as a result of, being placed in those bubbles, they lost out on scholarships. They lost out on training. It was groups like yours that probably kept the passion alive, because there are some wrestlers just kind of, oh, I don't have to train.
Yeah, it definitely happened for sure. Wrestlers retired or quit, depending on their age, and just it ended.
Yeah,
but definitely,
it was so unfortunate. Because like I said, you had, well, how long did it go on for? 2 years, and you had athletes that were, could have went to D1, but they stopped training because it was impeded by this rule, right?
Yeah.
Well, but now you've gotten through that. You've got to an international status where you were representing Canada on the world stage at different venues, right? You've overcome the adversity of COVID. Has there been other, I guess, bouts of adversity that you've had to face through your wrestling career or sport career that has challenged your mindset, has challenged you physically as well?
Yeah, I just feel like adversity, like things like that happens all the time. Injuries, big injuries, small nagging injuries, like those are all adversities. Mental slumps, like that's all happened to me. That I feel like that's natural in every athlete's journey to have that. And I've definitely experienced my own personal adversities, physical adversities, and but that's the nature of being an elite athlete. I feel like it's just, it doesn't make me special. It doesn't make I don't know.
Do you think the sport has helped with that mindset? I know, years later, I was hit by a car while I was at work, and I suffered post-concussion syndrome. I was off for 2 years. And I heard these horror stories about individuals, not recovering, having this post-concussion syndrome for 7 years and going through some pretty bad stuff. But in my mind, I never had that thought process where I'm going to quit, where I was devastated. I think, and I don't know, maybe do you think wrestling has pushed you, or sports has pushed you to that mindset where I'm not going to quit?
Yeah, definitely. I think all sports can have the ability to do that depending on the type of person that you are naturally. But I feel like wrestling can build that kind of person. Lots of sports, I think, can, if you already are that person, they can just make you stronger. But I feel like wrestling can build that kind of person. And wrestling is so intense, and it's so all year long, and it's go, go, go. You are grinding, and every practice is hard. There's not really an easy practice. There's not really an easy tournament. I definitely think wrestling, you got to have thick skin. You have to be strong. You have to be able to persevere. And if you don't, people don't last in wrestling. I feel like other sports, I feel like you can kind of get away with being a little lazy, being a little soft, but wrestling, it's just, you can't, and no part of you can be soft, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, you're in the room consistently, and somebody's challenging you. Somebody's in your face. Somebody's taking away your dream. Yeah.
You signed up to go fight somebody.
Part 1 of this episode was brought to you by Let's Wrestle Apparel. Hey wrestlers, ready to show your passion for wrestling and style? Introducing Let's Wrestle Apparel, designed for champions like you. Whether you're on the mat or in the gym or out with friends, Let's Wrestle apparel is made for comfort, durability, and making a statement. Their high-quality, breathable fabric keeps you cool and focused no matter how intense life gets. With bold designs and a perfect fit, Let's Wrestle apparel is more than just clothing. They're a badge of honor for dedicated athletes. Available in a variety of sizes and colors, there is clothing in the Let's Wrestle apparel collection for every wrestling warrior. Don't just wrestle, wrestle in style. Visit their website at www.letswrestle.ca to browse their collection and order yours today. Join the movement and let the world know you're ready to rumble with Let's Wrestle apparel. Thank you for tuning into the Conceive, Believe, and Achieve podcast. I hope you found today's episode insightful and inspiring. Your support means the world to us, so don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a comment in the section below. Your feedback fuels our journey to bring you more valuable content and stories from the realm of sports. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries, believing in yourself, and achieving greatness. Thank you for listening.